Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the Drew Kennington Show, coming to you live once again from the great Indianapolis, Indiana. We're recording this on April 5th, 2026, which means that today is, in fact, Easter. So, shout out to all my fans of the show who celebrate that. I would say shout out to the Christians, but I feel like Easter is one of those holidays, kind of like Christmas, that's kind of got a commercialized side to it. Like there's the people who rock with it, the Christians, who actually celebrate it for what it is and what it was designated to be. And then you got the people who just celebrate it for the commercial aspect of it. So, shout out everybody, I guess, So, shout out the Christians and shout out those who just want a chocolate Easter bunny or some Cadbury eggs. Shout out everyone. We're inclusive here on this show. But yeah, so we're gonna have to. Well, we're actively recording this pretty early. It's currently 10:53 in the morning because I do have a full slate of Easter activities to partake in today. So I want to get this in now because if I do it afterwards, I don't think it'll be very fun. I think I'll be dreading it. I think I'll probably have no energy, no sauce, and just be exhausted from the day. So we're getting it in before the festivities. And yeah, we're gonna have some fun. I will say though, this Easter being on a Sunday, it's cause for a busy weekend in the Drew Kennington household, I guess. Because yesterday, typically on Saturdays is when I do stuff. That's when I go out. It's when I don't know, just go do the fun stuff on Saturday, and then Sunday is your day to like rot on the couch. You earn your Sundays and your Saturdays is the day that you earn it, if that makes sense. It's a day of rest, so to speak. But man, yesterday I was busy. I was busy, man. I did a little something new. I did a little something exciting. Here on the show, we're all about stepping out of our comfort zone. We talk about it a lot. We bring it up. It's like a broken record at this point, yapping on about how we need to be stepping out of our comfort zone. Well, I practiced what I preach this week, and I built something in my garage. And I know that sounds like stupid, like, oh, here he goes, he built something in his garage. But for me, it was my first time doing something like that because I've lived in apartments for the last 3 years. So I've never really had a garage, and I've never really just like taken the time to set aside and do something like that out there. And I had the time on my hands, so I built Naomi this like cool little planter slash flower box out of cedar wood. It was sick. But that wasn't the big thing I did. That like made me step out of my comfort zone. What I did, which I thought was pretty crazy of me, is I filmed a video of me doing it. I doing this podcast thing, obviously I film myself recording the show or whatever, and I post on social media, and I've kind of gotten comfortable with that. Like it's not really intimidating for me anymore to record myself sitting in this chair talking into a microphone and then posting on social media. I think that's just because it's a podcast. You know what I mean? Like you see like, okay, the Drew Kennington Show, it's a podcast. You're gonna see podcast clips. That's the whole idea. But me recording myself just doing something, like kind of, I don't know, being like a social media guy, like actually addressing the camera and addressing the audience in a way. I don't know, it's something that makes me a little uncomfortable, but I persevered. I did it. I recorded it. Haven't edited it yet because it's a lot of footage, but pretty excited about that. I'm definitely going to post it on TikTok because I don't know why, I just feel like over there, yeah. But if I really want to step out of my comfort zone, I'm thinking, spitballing here, nothing has been set in stone yet. I'm thinking about potentially posting it on my main Instagram account. Uh-oh, spooky. You know what I mean? Like, that's anxiety. That's not, I'm not very comfortable doing that. Because, man, I used to, like I said, on the Drew Kennington Show pages, I have no problem because it's just like the only people that are really watching that that I know personally are people that actually like care about the show. But on my personal Instagram account, man, there's a lot of people on there who like, I don't know. I don't know, man. Just a little anxious. Makes me a little anxious. And like I said, that's what we do here. We dive in to the fear. We don't let it consume us. So if you are listening to this and you do follow me on my personal Instagram account and you see me post it, just know I overcame the struggle. I locked in and made it happen. But if you only see it on TikTok, just know we're not quite there yet. Because at the end of the day, I am still human. But yeah. So I did that all day Saturday, and then obviously today we gotta do a bunch of Easter festivities. So it doesn't really allow for a day of complete laziness that I like to have on my weekends, which is unfortunate. But you know, we do what we gotta do for the fam. And on top of just like life being busy, the downtown Indy's been busy, man. The Final Four was this weekend, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on around the city for that. They got those like free concerts going on. They've blocked off a bunch of roads. A whole bunch of shenanigans going on over there. And then on top of that, bro, I go to the gym yesterday, and there's so many people. Like I go to the gym on Saturday mornings. It's like that's kind of like one of my like highlights of my week every week. You know, there's Friday nights because it's like work's done. You can be a little silly. Fun dinner Friday. We've spoke on that. But then like that Saturday morning, you slept until like 10:30. You wake up, you go grab you an energy drink, and you just go to the gym and just lift heavy weights for an hour. Like it's just such a great feeling. Just geeked off the caffeine, pumping some insane iron. Got the cutoff on, you see the muscles bulging out. Just a great time. Not this week, bro. There was bodies in that gym. And I don't know if it was because of I assume it's because of the Final Four. A bunch of people from out of town wanted to get a workout in. The gym I go to is like one of the only gyms downtown, so I was like, all right, whatever. But man, it reminded me back to when I used to go to Vasa Fitness over in Beach Grove, if you're familiar with Indianapolis. Crazy side note, it was on the corner of Thompson and Emerson where that one guy, again, if you're an Indy local, you probably know this, where the dude got shot, where the road rage incident where the guy walked up to the truck window and the guy in the truck shot him from the window and killed him. It was like right there where I used to go to the gym. Just a quick little sidebar. But that place, I used to go after work, and it was like a social club. And that's when I hate going to the gym, is when it becomes this like social club. Like you got the fitness influencers with their tripod set up. And like no disrespect for people out there trying to go get their, influencer bag. Like all respect. But when I'm in the gym trying to work out and, you got a massive tripod set up and there's like hella, it's too much, bro. It's too much. The gym for me is a place of like calm, and it's almost like an active meditation in a way. So when you got that going on, it's a little too much. But yeah, typically the YMCA is not like that, but this week it was hectic, which was unfortunate, but hey, what can you do? It's almost like when it's like January, if going to the gym at the beginning of January, it's the same thing. It's like you got like people standing around, not really knowing what's going on, waiting for machines, getting on machines, spending way too long, and it's just like, again, no disrespect for trying to get into your fitness bag, but like a little disrespect because we all know you're probably not going to be here in 3 weeks. And again, I'm not trying to be a dick, but like I do this, I'm here 3 times a week. I'm not saying I'm some super athlete, but like I do this enough to where like, hey man, I know this. I'm not gonna quit ragging on the resolution, New Year's resolution people. Do what you got to do, lock in how you got to lock in. I'm just saying, if you have to wait for some sort of like a day or some sort of event to start something, you're a lot less likely to actually continue it. Like if it's December 15th and you're like, at the beginning of the year, I'm starting eating healthy, you're a lot less likely to succeed in that endeavor. Whereas if you were just like, hey, it's December 15th, I'm going to start eating healthy, I'm going to do it right fucking now. A lot more likely to succeed because you're locking in on the mindset of like, I'm doing this now and I'm making the change now instead of like, in a month I'll do it, So that's my 2 cents on that for all my people out there who want to lock in on that. And also, while we're here, I mean, I don't even know how we got here, but we're here now, so we're going to talk about it. Stop buying into fad diets. Quit buying into these like stupid fad diets and just eat healthy. I feel like so many people, they buy into this fad diet trend whether it's like keto, carnivore, one meal a day, whatever, intermittent fasting, which I mean, there's pros to all those things, but so many people like buy into these diets and then they like, I'm going to do it for X amount of time. What do you mean you're only going to diet for 4 months? What do you mean you're only going to diet for 6 months? You should be wanting to make a lifestyle change to where you don't have to, it's not a diet, it's just who you are. Find the foods you like to eat that are macro friendly, good for you, that you enjoy eating, and just eat those. Every meal doesn't need to be a certified banger. You can have some dull meals, bro. Monday through Friday, I eat the exact same breakfast and lunch every single day. Is it like the greatest meal ever? No, but it's good. It gets the job done. I know it's pretty macro friendly, pretty healthy, not high calorie. So I don't even need to track my food, and I kind of know where I'm at on calories, protein, all that for the day. And same thing with dinner. My dinners aren't always home run out of the park meals. Sometimes I'm prioritizing my macros and my protein over mouth sensation. So if you lock in on that and you figure out just a group of foods or a group of meals that you like that are macro friendly, it is so much easier to sustain long term than it is to do keto for 4 months and then you lose the weight you want to lose, but you hate doing keto. So then you go back to your old eating habits because you never developed proper eating habits. You just kind of, in a way, tortured yourself for 4 months to achieve your goal, but now it's like, you're like, okay, cool, I achieved my goal, I can go back to normal. No, you can't, because you didn't develop healthy eating habits. You just started fucking doing a diet you hated. Whew. Well, that was an unexpected rant we just went on there. I had no intention on talking about any of that. But yeah, so let's get into a topic here. That was a wild intro. I had a great opportunity last week, and I kind of fumbled. So last week when I was recording the show, I recorded it on Monday because of my birthday or whatever, and I have my phone sitting here. Today I have it on Do Not Disturb because last time I kept getting like notifications and it was, taking my focus away. But when I was talking about, I was in the middle of a rant, I guess, last week, and I got a notification about the Jaden Ivey situation. Granted, I didn't like read it fully, so I didn't know what was happening. All I saw was Bulls, like Chicago Bulls, and LGBTQ. That's the only two things I saw. And for some reason, I didn't think to like further investigate what that was talking about. I just kind of saw Chicago Bulls, LGBTQ, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's Chicago, that's what they do. And I just went on about it. Record the show, go downstairs. My fiance comes home. She's like, did you hear about Jaden Ivey? And like it all just kind of like clicked in my head. Like she didn't even need to say what it was about. It just like clicked in my head. I was like, Chicago Bulls, LGBTQ. I was like, that was about Jaden Ivey. I was like, what happened? And then she told me, and I was like, man, I could have had like a breaking news, super crazy segment about this whole situation, but we didn't get that. So we're going to talk about it today. Before the show, I was looking into it pretty heavily, and it's kind of wild, in my opinion. Just kind of how, I just think it's the suddenness of it all is what kind of catches me off guard. Like, I think you should be allowed to talk about whatever you want to talk about, freedom of speech, do what you want to do, say what you want to say. You have that liberty here in America, and no one should be able to tell you what you can and can't say. But I feel like we could also kind of like put a hand up and say, hey, this is a little weird. Can we at least do that? Because if Jaden Ivey coming up in college, high school, his early NBA career, if he was like very like outwardly Christian, but he wasn't like to the extent he is, but then he kind of just went on this like tirade, then it's kind of like, okay, like he, this was his thing. Like he was always kind of outwardly about this, and which maybe he was. I'm not a Jaden Ivey, Purdue, Detroit Piston, Chicago Bulls fan, so I did not keep up with him. The only thing I knew about Jaden Ivey was the fact that him and Benedict Mathurin had beef, and Benedict Mathurin bitched on him every single time. So that's all I know. But when you go from not really talking about stuff like that to going to the extent that he's going with it, it raises a little bit of red flags for me, because there is such a thing as religious psychosis. And it's just, I can't help but think that this is what's happening here. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with involving yourself in religion. There's nothing wrong with developing a spiritual practice. And if you feel like Christianity is that for you, and you want to tell people about it, that's great. That's perfectly fine if that's how you feel. But I feel like you also need to read the room a little bit. I feel like you also need to understand the opportunity you have in front of you, and the fact that certain things you say can take that opportunity away. And I feel like somebody in Jaden Ivey's position doesn't necessarily have the tenure or the pull to say outlandish things and then get the opportunity to walk it back. Like besides early last season when he was hooping at the beginning of last season, he really hasn't done that much in the NBA. I mean, his play on the court is, lackluster sometimes, but he got traded for Kevin Huerter. No disrespect to Kevin Huerter, but like, it's Kevin Huerter. Like, if I was in the NBA and I got traded for Kevin Huerter and I was like the number 5 overall pick, bit of a slap in the face if you ask me. But he doesn't necessarily have that pull to be like for me, the perfect example is like Michael Porter Jr. I'm not saying Michael Porter Jr. is like this like super stud, but he's a hooper. Like, he'll give you 20 a night. He won't pass the ball. That boy's a black hole on offense, but he'll give you 20 points a night on a pretty efficient scoring. Like, he's nice like that. He goes on his little podcast, says some crazy shit, and we all just kind of chalk it up as like, that's just who he is. So, but if you're Jaden Ivey, who's only averaging like 11 and 3, and you can't really stay healthy, you don't get the same luxury as someone who's averaging 20 and kind of the only good thing going for their team. And I know you may argue, like, it's like, well, you got dudes like, like Miles Bridges still in the league, you got like, oh, well, Ray Rice killed someone. Not Ray Rice. Ray Lewis killed someone. Ray Rice beat his wife. There's a video of a Kareem Hunt. Like, all these dudes who have like domestic violence cases on their head. It's like, well, they did it, and they're still in the league. But a man comes out here and he starts preaching the gospel, and all of a sudden he's kicked out. And I feel like a lot of people want to like blame woke America for it, being like, oh, well, this is woke America's problems because he targeted the gay people. I don't think it really has anything to do with that. I think it has to do with the fact that it's like, you kind of got to know, you just got to know when and where, like, you got to read the room, basically. You got to know when and where to say what you want to say. If you're, again, not really providing much for your team, you're hurt, so you're not even giving any on-court product. You are hurt. And you're going online and you're just, like, talking shit about communities of people, because the NBA, they have to protect their brand. They're trying to, you saw what happened with the whole China thing. The Rockets, James Harden, were huge in China. Not saying that we need to be supporting whatever's going on in China, but the NBA, it's a business. They're here to make money. So when they see like, oh my God, we're huge in China, we're going to kind of pander, not necessarily pander, but we're going to do what we can to kind of represent this community of people, this country of people. So then Daryl Morey comes out and I think he just said like free Hong Kong or something, which he's allowed to do that. But again, China didn't like it. So NBA, they do. I don't even remember what happened. I don't know if they fired Daryl, whatever happened there. But basically, they lost a lot of pull in China because of it. So the NBA, who does Pride Night games, who does celebrate these these LGBTQ community things, because they want to involve everybody in their sport, they don't want to exclude certain people. If you got a dude going online kind of bashing the whole situation, regardless how you feel about it or not, I think we can all take a step back and be like, that's a bad look for a brand whose goal is to market their product to as much people as possible. If you have a person going online and being very vocal about how this community of people is quote unquote unrighteous, then yeah, like you can't have that. And like you could maybe have it. You could maybe justify it or maybe even like walk it back a little bit if he was like, like an all-star level player, instead of maybe just exiling him from the league completely, maybe they could have like pulled him into a room and like, hey, listen, you gotta like chill the fuck out. Like time out, bro. I get it. But like calm down. So, and it's just unfortunate because this will probably get spun, just like everything else does, into some right versus left rhetoric where the conservative Christians say this is woke media, blah, blah, blah's fault because, they kick a man out of the league because he wants to talk about God. Like, I guess if on a surface level, yeah, that's pretty much kind of what happened. But when you actually, like, take your own blinders off and look at it from a outwardly perspective, it's like, yeah, you just can't really have that in, in a professional sports league. Like, and the prime example of this about saying if he were putting up numbers he could stay in the league is Puka Nacua. Like Puka Nacua, granted, whatever he did with the whole rubbing his hands together thing, like apparently that was anti-Semitic, and like there was like I feel like a couple times where either him or someone else has said something anti-Semitic in the league, and it's like that's kind of like a hot, touchy topic right now. But they got the opportunity to come out and be like, hey, my fault. I'm sorry. I apologize. Because they're putting up numbers on the field. So they're allowed to be like, yo, I'm sorry. But yeah, Jaden Ivey, you can't do that. And I'm not saying he's going to be exiled from the league forever. We've seen plenty of people kind of quote unquote ruin their career, but then eventually find their way back. Because like I was saying earlier, if you produce on the court, it is very difficult for teams to ignore that. Like I brought up earlier, Miles Bridges literally beat his wife, girlfriend, whoever, and he's back in the league. You know what I mean? Because that dude's he's a bucket. He's good. Like these teams are like, man, like yeah, he beat his wife, but like 20 and 10, like, and you're saying since nobody wants him, I can get him for 15 mil a year. Some desperate team's got to take a chance on that. You look at like Kyle Larson in NASCAR. Like, dude literally said the N-word on a NASCAR stream. Gets exiled from NASCAR, kicked out, booted. But then he goes on these like lower level circuits and he's just waxing everybody to the point where they're like, listen, we can't ignore the fact that this guy he's that dude. They bring him back in, and I think he won a NASCAR Cup Championship a few years ago. So it's like, man, if you can produce, you can find your way back. If you're like really that nice, a lot of people will kind of turn a blind eye to like what it is you did. I mean, like I said, Ray Lewis killed a guy. Kobe allegedly did whatever. We're not going to bring that up. But if you can produce on the court, people will find a way to ignore what it is that you did. So, but frankly, I don't think Jaden Ivey is going to make it back from this, because it seems like he's pretty lost in the sauce. It seems like he's very in it, and I don't know how you kind of backpedal or pull yourself out of this one, because I feel like it's very difficult to be in a position like that because your reasoning and your way of thinking is not within the realm of reality. You're in the spiritual realm. So anything you do, you have people coming up to you being like, "Hey, bro, you might be doing a little too much." You're not thinking in the realm of reality, in the realm of the concrete, in the realm of what's tangible. You're living in this spiritual psychosis in a way where it's like the only thing that matters is my connection and my willingness to serve God, because this time spent here is just a blip on the greater cosmic whatever radar. So yeah, I may be here for 85 to 100 years, but I'm going to spend eternity with Christ. So what I'm going to do is forego anything here to serve my God, so that when my judgment day comes, he can look at me and he can say, "Wow, you were a great servant." And like I said, that's a very dangerous spot to be, because all of your reasoning is clouded by this idea that this higher power is the purpose of life is to please this higher power. So I don't know if he's going to be able to kind of walk himself out of that one. That's a very, very, very slippery slope. And I don't want like it to come off as me being like, "Oh, well, if you serve God, you're an idiot." And it's not like that. I'm just saying there is the spiritual realm. That's a very real, it's a very important realm to be aware of and um, to just like acknowledge and involve yourself in some way. You need to an extent, you have to allow that realm of life to flow through you, but you also have to realize there's reality. There is the concrete, there is the tangible, and you have to respect both equally. You cannot disrespect one in pursuit of the other. You can't dive fully into the spiritual realm and then disregard reality, because then you become a hermit living in the woods, just kind of going on about religious nonsense all day. And like I said, there's nothing really inherently wrong with that, but like you're foregoing a lot of this human experience to just serve a religious deity or whatever. And you can't live fully in the mental, the reality, the physical. You can't live all in there and disrespect the spiritual, because then you become a politician. You know what I mean? You become like one of these like dudes who just like completely disrespect everything there is to do with nature and the wholeness, the godliness of everything, and they're just like really focusing on the concrete, the logical, and things like that. So I feel like you gotta kind of find a middle ground where it's like you respect and you welcome the spiritual side, but then you also understand the importance of living in reality, because whether we like it or not, that's where we are. We could wish we were somewhere else. We could wish we were whatever, but the reality is we're here. The reality is we are in the tangible world. So we kind of have to respect it, and I think we have to honor it, because this may be our only chance to experience it. I'm not saying that you need to go and do all this like sinful stuff and all this crazy stuff just because, oh, YOLO, you only live once. But I feel like there is certain things in this life that it's like, man, we may never get to experience this again. We should at least like, honor it. So, yeah, I don't know how. Not really sure what's gonna happen with this whole Jaden Ivey thing. I guess I wish him the best. I hope that he figures it out. I don't know, man. It's weird. I get it, but at the same time, it's like, man, you had such a great opportunity in front of you. People would kill to be an NBA player, and you kind of gave it all up to go on this weird little tirade. I mean, but if that's what works for him, well, we said last episode, it's not about how you get there, it's just about getting there. So, I mean, if he's there and he feels like this is his life's purpose, who am I to say that he's not doing what needs to be done? Also, on the topic of basketball, I guess we can segue into something else here. Not as heavy hitting, something maybe a little more fun. Hold on, let me pull it up here on my phone. I think I finally figured out what it is I like so much about women's hoops. So I'm obviously a fan of just basketball in general. Big NBA fan. Not a big college hoops guy. I'll watch the tournament like I've watched this year, but I don't really tap in like that. But lately I've been really getting into women's basketball. And it's frankly because my fiance likes women's basketball. So I watch it with her. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that, like, if it wasn't for her, I'd be watching it on my own. Probably not, but because of living with her and her wanting to watch it, I've been engaging a lot in women's hoops. And I've started to develop a fondness for it. And I couldn't really put my finger on it at first because, in complete honesty, women's hoops is clearly not as, like, the on-court product is not as good as men's. Like, if you want to watch some, like, top-tier grade A hoops, obviously you'd watch the NBA, whereas the WNBA is a step below that. But there is just something so intriguing about that, and what I finally came to realize this week, I was watching the UConn versus South Carolina women's Final Four game. In women's basketball, possessions mean so much more, especially meaningful basketball. And the reason is because these games are so low scoring compared to the NBA. Like NBA games, bro, the score is like 120 to 110. Whereas the final score in some of these college girls games is like 45 to 52. And it's like, whoa. Like, that was a low scoring game. And it's true, like, they are low scoring, so that means like every single possession matters so much more. These girls come down the court, they use 35 seconds of their 40-second shot clock putting up the shot, and like, you're kind of holding your breath when the shot goes up, because if they miss this shot, who knows when they're going to score again. And that's just really what it is. It's so much more like intense, and it's so much more meaningful. Like, I feel like men score so much when they play, especially in the NBA. There's so many possessions that if a player comes, like Anthony Edwards comes down and chucks up a three from half court and bricks it, you're kind of like, oh, that was stupid. But like, they'll be back on offense in like another 35 seconds. Whereas women, they come down and they chuck up a three and brick it. You're like, what are you doing? Like, oh, this is horrible. You know what I mean? Like, man, what do you mean? It's gonna be like another 2 minutes before we get the ball back. So I think that's just like super, super interesting. And also on top of that, which you do not get in the NBA, that's a lie. You do get it in the NBA. But I feel like you get it a lot more in women's hoops, is girls crying. And I say you don't get it in the NBA, but then I remember the very famous meme of Joel Embiid crying after losing, I believe it was to the Atlanta Hawks, the death of Ben Simmons game. Still wild how that all transpired, but that's not what we're here to talk about. But I was watching this UConn game, man. I don't remember who it was, but some girl went down. She shot a layup and she braked it. And man, she came down the court and she was bawling her eyes out, bro. Like, that girl was torn up. And it's just so funny. Not funny. It's not funny to see people suffer, but it's just so, like, I don't know. It's such an interesting experience. And then on top of even the girls crying, you have in the WNBA, even in college, you got the girls dating each other. Like, we don't get that in the NBA. You don't get, I mean, you still get like relationship drama, like off the court, like Luka and his fiance, like that whole situation, Not saying there's drama here, but like Klay Thompson, Megan Thee Stallion, that made headlines. Even like the whole Steph Curry and his wife situation, like that. Like, you get relationship drama. Iggy Azalea and Nick Young, that one's crazy. You get that in the NBA, but like, you don't get like, it's not like on court. Like, it's like the players are dating each other, bro, and then they have to go like either play against each other or they play on the same team, and then they're playing on the same team together, and then they break up, and it's like, is one of them going to get traded? So it's like there's so much more nuance to it all, and it plays into that that almost soap opera-y feel that you oftentimes get from the NBA, which that's like one of the cool things about the NBA for whatever reason is you don't even need to like watch the games to like be involved in the drama of NBA. You know, it's like I haven't watched really any hoops, NBA hoops this year because we've talked the Pacers suck and I've not really been too excited to watch the NBA because my team is trash, which is a good thing, mind you. But I'm still like tapped into all this like Giannis trade drama, like like Cam Thomas, like all this like stuff. I'm still tapped into it because there is a certain aspect of the NBA where it's like you can tune into just the drama and not really have to watch the on-court product. And I feel like the WNBA has their just women's hoops in general has their own kind of sector of that evolving, and I feel like that is how you get people to stick around to your league is respectfully by airing out the drama of whatever it is going on in your league. Have players that are those big personalities because there needs to be an entertainment level to it all. Like whether you like it or not, like Angel Reese's big personality is the perfect counterpart to Caitlin Clark's boring personality. If everybody was like Caitlin Clark, no one would care about anything. But you bring in this antagonist, this larger personality, and whether they actually are beefing or not, the fans seem to think they are, and it creates this kind of like theatrical element to the game, almost kind of like a WWE type vibe going on there. And I just think it's cool. I think it's cool that they got that going on. It makes it entertaining. It makes you want to keep coming back and watch more. Cause it's like, oh, what's gonna happen? Is she gonna do this next year? Is she gonna? It makes it interesting. So shout out women's hoops. Shout out the ladies. Very unfortunate. UConn lost. Again, like I said, my women's basketball experience is vicariously through Naomi. So really, whoever she roots for is who I root for. So she's a UConn fan. I'm a UConn fan. She's a Paige Beckers fan. I'm a Paige Beckers fan. It's just how it goes. It's like I get all my news and stuff from it through her. So it's like really whoever she likes, whatever narrative she wants to push is what I get, and that's how I feel. So shout out all those ladies. Kind of crazy. The whole Gino and Dawn Staley situation. I didn't look into that really at all, so I don't even know what was said, but it's just kind of wild. Because, like like a guy like Gino, if you watch that UConn game, you just know that boy was pissed, bro. Because those girls looked rough out there. And then especially missing a wide open light. Those ladies got chewed out, and then you get to the line, and I don't know what would possess you to want to chew out the other coach, but I'm sure whatever he said, he must have been feeling it very intensely in that moment. So that was a little crazy. All right, we're going to move on from just the hoops segment in general, and we're going to do, I don't have really many weekly observations. I only have two, but we'll cover those first, and then we'll hop into a little introspective segment, and then we'll get out of here and enjoy the rest of our day. Pooh Shiesty, he kidnapped Gucci Mane. I saw that this week, and I was like, what are you talking about? Pooh Shiesty kidnapped Gucci Mane? Because that's just such like I feel like we haven't had rappers and just like rap beef like that in a while. Like I feel like in the early 2020s, it kind of just seemed like rappers were dropping like flies, like left and right, and there was a whole lot of like gang references and like kind of gang affiliations within the rap world. And I'm not saying there's not now, but I'm just saying that the mainstream guys, the guys that were like topping the charts, were also involved in like gang activity. Whereas now a lot of the guys chopping the charts in the rap game are either a lot more established guys, a lot more like brand friendly guys, or they're even these like underground guys who, that's really what it is. It's like the underground rap scene. It used to just be the gangbangers and stuff like that, like these like more like hood affiliated dudes. Whereas now I feel like the underground rap scene is a lot of like kind of nerdy kids in their mom's basement that make this like alt rap kind of style of music, which those like dudes aren't gonna really be gangbanging like that. So it kind of takes away that culture out of rap music, at least in the mainstream. I'm not saying there's still not a subculture of it, but the mainstream culture is kind of moved away from that. So to hear that Pooh Shiesty, who, granted, again, maybe I'm just not tapped in, but I feel like he's kind of fallen off. I don't think he's really doing much on the music scene. Like I said, I could be completely wrong. I know I'm not his target audience, but I mean, he was making waves back with Back in Blood with Lil Durk. That was a big one, and then he had another one that kind of put him on. So I don't know really what he's been up to now, but then it's like he comes out and he kidnaps Gucci Mane, who is, he's Gucci Mane. Again, another artist that I know he's got his bag. He doesn't really need it. He's like in that Rick Ross type of, or like they're like rich and they're kind of just like, they don't need this music shit anymore to make money. So like in the music world, it's kind of like, or do you even still make music? But like obviously in the business world, they're still getting that money. It's just a wild situation because there was a clip of him rapping about how he's even gonna like kidnap a rapper after a session. Pooh Shiesty said that. They take his shit, they're flexing his watch on IG Live, like. It's crazy because that used to be what rap was, and it's just so wild. Like I forgot how like kind of crazy that shit was, man. Like people really were moving like that in the rap game, and yeah, no, it's not really like that. So don't shout out Pooh Shiesty. Yeah, we don't fuck with kidnapping here on the Drew Kennington Show, but hopefully that situation all figures itself out and everybody comes out okay in the end. We don't want to see anyone get hurt. The other observation I had this week is that I hate ads. I absolutely despise commercials. I have a very, very large disdain for marketing campaigns. I just hate it so much, man. I hate when I'm like watching a game, watching TV. This is why I don't watch live TV. I only watch it to watch sports. If it is not sports, if there's not a sporting event on live TV, I am not watching it. Because every time I watch an ad, it just feels like they're just trying to like indoctrinate you into buying whatever it is their product is. Like I feel like maybe this is like tinfoil hatty, but I just feel like when you're watching an ad, they're doing all these like subconscious tactics that you aren't even aware of to kind of draw your brain in. Like the fucking jingles. You'll just be walking around enjoying your day and you'll sing a jingle to some product. And it's like, oh no, they got me. That's what they wanted. It's like they have a team full of people dedicated to pumping this brand's image and pushing a narrative down your brain. And it's just such a crazy concept, and I just hate it when I'm trying to watch some sports and then all of a sudden I'm getting one of those pharmaceutical ads about people, and it's just clips of them living their life being so happy, and then it's like, but you're talking about like a drug, like you're talking of you like, then they start listing all the side effects, and it's like could cause cancer, could cause brain bleeds, could cause your head to explode. It's like whoa, and like the whole time it's like a family running around in the park playing like kickball. It's like, what is happening here? So, I just needed to get that off my chest. I absolutely hate ads. And then when I see, like, ads on, like, I hate ads, bro. And you see them on your phone, and then, like, you see them just, like, you're driving, and there's ads. There's ads everywhere, bro. Everything's a fucking ad. Oh, man. And then you even got, like, bro, there's those refrigerators that have the kind of the screen, like almost like a tablet on the refrigerator. They have ads on those. So when you're going in the morning to get your oats, the first thing you see is an ad for Ozempic. That is, to me, some of the most insane shit ever. I hate it. And then, like, I don't know, maybe this is conspiracy doomerism, but I feel like there's going to come a day where we either have some sort of AI contact lens or VR, whatever, some type of headset to where there's digital interfaces overlaid over what we see in the day-to-day, and it's either a wearable or maybe it's an implant, but there's going to be a way where we can take our phone and it'll be like a hands-free kind of out in the space type of thing. And man, can you imagine just chilling? Like, imagine right now, we're just chilling, hanging out on the couch, and then you get a 30-second unskippable, ad, and you're just trying to chill and like hang out on the couch with your fiance, and you're like, oh wait, hold up, I got an ad, and you can't do anything about it because it's implanted in your brain. That's the type of shit I think of, and I feel like that is not fun, not cool, not very exciting to think about when you think about the future of technology, because that is one thing. If they can figure out a way to profit off it, they will. Okay, guys. So, I think we'll close it out here with a little bit of an introspective topic, and then we will cut out. I do have to leave in like 20 minutes, so we probably won't go too deep on this, but we'll still touch on it. And that is the idea of protecting your peace and the sacrifice that comes with that. So like me personally, I live my life in a way of trying to figure out what will cause the least amount of bad stress. Like I think that in life there is good stress and then there's bad stress. Like good stress is like situations where you find yourself where you're a little anxious because it's a new endeavor and it kind of makes you scared, but like in the long run, although yes, I am anxious and I am stressed out now, this will lead to personal development and personal growth if I can just get through this situation and monitor my brain and my emotions as I go through it, look back in hindsight and be like, okay, cool, that's whatever. Bad stress is just like, frankly, it's just dealing with bullshit, and I try to fill my life with the least amount of bullshit as possible and protect my peace in a way. And with that, though, there is a set of sacrifices that come with protecting your peace, and that is the fact that you're not always going to be available. When you're protecting your peace, you're not always going to be just like drop at the hat, like, yeah, I can do that. You have to analyze situations a lot deeper and understand, like, and be able to just to say no to situations. Like, hey, I respectfully decline because I I see the vibe here, and that's not really where I want to put myself. And it can create distance between you and certain people or certain groups or just whatever. It can create a little bit of distance, which can be difficult because, now you kind of seem like an asshole. You're putting distance between you and other people, but it's hard to articulate, like, hey, I am protecting just my inner calmness. And if I were to put myself in this environment, I know that I would be doing myself a disservice, and it's not really a place that I want to be. And that can come off as mean and not nice sometimes. So kind of, there's a line you have to draw. There's a balance you have to find. I mean, that's just the reality of life. I feel like we spoke about it earlier with the Jaden Ivey thing. There's the two extremes. There's involving yourself in everything with everyone and being a people pleaser. And then there's removing yourself from everything and everyone and only being like being a hermit and only being alone, always being alone. And I feel like neither one is necessarily a great way to live. So you kind of have to take both of those and find that balance somewhere in the middle where it's like, yes, I involve myself with groups, with people and things like that, but I don't allow myself to become that people pleaser where it's like I'm only gonna, for the sake of making it a situation uncomfortable, I'm just gonna put down my bullshit and like, be a people pleaser is all I'm trying to say. It's like you set aside your own cares for the sake of others, and then the vice versa where you're extremely selfish and you're like, the only thing I care about is me and myself, and I'm only gonna do that, and I'm only gonna care about that. So you have to find that middle ground where it's like you can say no, where it's you can acknowledge the fact that it's like I'm not gonna put myself in that position. I'm not gonna basically engage in this people pleasing, environment that I don't want to be in, that I know I will not thrive in. So you have to kind of pick and choose in a way, and figure it out from there. So yeah, just when it comes to situations like that, I guess just do just always remind yourself that one of the most important things is peace of mind. A calm mind is, I feel like that's kind of like the goal, is a calm mind. And if you put yourself in environments where it causes you not to be calm, you can kind of find yourself in like some sticky situations, and it brings in this own sort of hecticness in your own life. Whereas if you put yourself in more environments where you are able to find peace, and you are able to, you know, just quiet your mind and find that inner calm, you'll have a much more fulfilled life if you choose those environments over the ones that cause a lot of noise in your head. Because the way I look at it is sometimes life can be like a busy restaurant. If you go into a restaurant, there's so much noise, and like imagine a busy bar on like a weekend night. There's so much noise. There's so much hecticness, and you got all these different conversations going on at all these different tables. And you imagine it in your own mind. It's like, oh my God, what do they think about me here? Oh my God, do you remember that one time when you did this and it was so embarrassing? Oh, here's this song that you can't get out of your head. There's just so much noise going on. And you feel like that is life, but you have to remember there's always the option to step outside. There's always an option to kind of step outside of the noise, go outside and just smoke a cigarette. You know what I mean? Like a hypothetical cigarette. Or just sit on the bench outside where it's quiet, where it's calm. And you can try your best to live there as much as you can, but often, you have to go back into the restaurant at some point, because the reality is you live in the restaurant, so to speak. But you don't have to, that's not all there is. There's always the calm, there's always the step outside, there's always the break from it all. All right, I think that's where we're going to wrap it up. I got to get ready, get dressed, and go have a fun-filled Easter day eating some yummy food and yummy chocolates. So I want to thank you guys so much for listening to this show. Once again, I didn't even bring up the significance of me hitting double-digit episodes last episode. That's sick. That's a whole lot of fun. So shout out, really just everyone for watching and listening, and the kind words you've given me along the way that has allowed me to get to this, my first, I guess, milestone with the show of reaching double-digit episodes. I've got a lot more growth to do. I feel like I said, we're not done growing yet. There's still so much I want to do with this. But I am having fun, and I enjoy coming in here and talking to you guys every week. So do not forget to like the video, subscribe if you have not subscribed, if you're on YouTube, and then if you're on Spotify, follow the show, rate 5 stars, drop a comment down below. I don't know, just say what's good. Maybe drop a thumbs up emoji if you're liking the show. Go follow the show on Instagram and TikTok. It's at the Drew Kennington Show. And like I said, we still got the email. We haven't been pushing it as much, but it's still there. If you got a take you want to get off, thedrewkenningtonshow@gmail.com. Tap in and we can talk. Once again, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys have the greatest Easter ever, and I will see you guys next week. Goodbye.